Hey YouTubers, it's Valerie with Money Mindset Coach, and today I want to talk about happiness. I think that too many times we tend to think, and a lot of people will say, and I've said it too, I'll be happy when. And now that I'm in my 60s, what makes me happy now isn't what made me happy in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, I always thought in my head, I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I have a baby. And I think that a lot of times we can literally put off living our lives because of something that we want to have happen that we think will bring us happiness. There are, of course, getting married, having children, that's something that continues throughout your life, hopefully. But once you have kids, those kids are there forever. Those kids don't go away. But there can be temporary happiness. How many people have a temporary happiness when they buy a new car and they're driving off the lot? That you can be happy when you do that, but that's temporary. Eventually, you start making payments on that car and it's not making you all that much happier. It is starting to be a burden, and it is just like the car you had before, where it became a used car. No new car stays new. They all get old. And so that can be temporary happiness. Sure. Yeah. But basically, happiness to me in my 60s, I definitely feel like my basic needs being covered, being able to afford food, shelter, health care, being safe, feeling safe in my home, in my car, that will boost your well-being. And when you have a well-being and you feel good, you will feel happiness. And I think that even translates into overall joy, When you have that, it reduces your stress and your insecurity. Financial stability can ease anxiety about the future and unexpected emergencies. When my kids were growing up, I felt a constant worry of, are they going to get sick? Are they going to get hurt? Because for years, until my then husband, when the youngest one went to kindergarten and I started working, even though it was supplemental, up until that time, I worried that something could happen to him. And then I would have 3 little boys that I was going to have to take care of somehow. So I worried about him. I worried about them. I worried about the next thing that was going to happen, because when you, and I've talked about this before, but the security that they talk about here, a lot of that is the emergency fund. And knowing if you get a flat tire, if you are in a car accident and your car gets totaled and you have to buy another car, all these different calamities that can happen, which is life, you want to know that you can handle those. And I was a Girl Scout when I was a girl. And the motto for being a Girl Scout is be prepared. And I just never felt like I was prepared. And that brings a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. But when you have those financial things covered, it buys time, it buys freedom. You have enough money to reduce your work hours, maybe. Delegate chores or pursue passions can be life-changing. Too many people are, and in this world, in the United States, there are too many people that are out there working themselves to death to try to make it. It's like, it can kill you. But do you have time to pursue any hobbies or passions or anything? No, you don't have time for that. You're working all the time. It supports meaningful experiences, spending on travel, hobbies, like I said, time with loved ones. Usually brings more lasting happiness than buying stuff. People are more important than things, very much more important. It allows giving. You're free. If someone needs help, you can help them. But if you're in a situation where you yourself need the help, you don't have anything to give anybody else. And it is a wonderful feeling to be able to help somebody else. But money doesn't buy happiness when it becomes a never-ending goal. I'll be happy when, like I said before, fuel status, competition, or comparison of others. Oh my gosh, if you are motivated by buying the BMW or the Mercedes or something because your neighbor, you want to buy a car that's as expensive as his, there's a lot of comparison going on, and it kills. It really, really does. But you end up competing or comparing yourself. You buy things instead of experiences. We have houses full of things. And do we use most of them? Do we know that we have most of them? Probably not. It comes at a cost of health, time, and relationships. It's not good. This is interesting. I had not heard this before. But there's a well-known study that studied happiness levels. And they said that happiness levels increase with income up to $75,000 to $100,000 a year. And then they plateau. So once you're over the 100,000, six-figure mark, a lot of people in their head, when they're working, that's something they want to attain. They want a six-figure income because then they'll be happy. My mom and dad used to say back in the 60s, if we could only make $10,000 a year, we would be on easy street. So I think a lot of people in this day and age, you just times that by 10 and you feel that $100,000, you got it made. But then there's a plateau. And a newer 2021 study suggested that emotional well-being may keep rising with income, but only if people already enjoy their work and their life. I've always said that out in Hollywood, where people make millions of dollars, they'd be the happiest. California, Hollywood in particular, would be the happiest place on earth with all those happy people that live out there because they have all this money. And I gotta say, yesterday, I was off yesterday, and I was on YouTube, and the documentary about the Woolworth, everybody remembers Woolworths. Oh my gosh, the guy who started Woolworths built it into this huge empire. He had a building built that was the tallest in the world at the time. And his kids, he died. I think he died at 59. Now, his kids didn't see him hardly at all while they were growing up because he was working all the time, building this fortune. And they lived in mansions. They had 2 mansions at one time. They had anything that they could have ever wanted except time with their father. They didn't have him. And one of his daughters' names was Edna. She killed herself. But before she did that, she had a daughter named Barbara. And Barbara's father was, I think it was E.F. Hutton. So it was Barbara Hutton. If you remember, Cary Grant was married to her. He was her 3rd or 4th husband. But the thing is every member of the Woolworth family, when the head guy, the grandfather, died, his kids and his grandkids never had to work. They inherited all these millions of dollars and they never worked. Well, when Barbara was growing up, and it was during the Depression, and people were standing in soup lines, and she was flaunting all the money that she had, they called her the poor little rich girl. And she was married. I think she ended up being married like 7 times. And she had a son named Lance. And Lance didn't get to hardly ever see her. Just like she never saw her mother or her grandfather. She didn't treat her own child any different than what she had been treated. But she kept looking for some kind of, trying to think. She didn't want to be this rich, shallow person. She wanted to amount to something, and it didn't, I think she tried with all these different husbands that she had. I thought they would give her significance, because one was a count, one was a prince, one was a movie star, Cary Grant. She thought that would give her life significance with who she married. And I tell you what, one of her husbands, this is crazy, she was only married to one of her husbands for 73 days. And when they got divorced, she had given him $2 million for having, been married to her for 73 days. It's like, that's crazy. That is crazy. All the husbands, because she had so much money, I think all the husbands came away with money when they divorced her. And see, she didn't know. When you have that kind of money, do you really know if someone likes you for you, or do they like you for how much money you have and what you can do and where you can go? I just don't think rich people are not happy, or they have to stay in their own circles. with other people who have a lot of money. That's the only thing they can do. They have to do that because anybody else could be just after their money and they can't trust them. But she died relatively young. She died alone. And I think she went through all of the millions of dollars that from her grandfather. She had a very lonely, unhappy life with millions of dollars. So sad. But I think in simple terms, money is a tool. It's not a guarantee. Used wisely for security, for experiences, time, and connection, it supports happiness. Used as a scoreboard or a substitute for meaning, it can actually cause stress and emptiness. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have enough money to pay my bills. I have enough money to save. And I have what I want. And I can have experiences with my kids and with my grandkids. Not worry. All I want is to take some kind of vacation every year. I want to have a car that runs. I want to have a decent car and one that runs and gets me from point A to point B. I do not need a Jaguar. I do not need a Cadillac, Porsche. I don't need any of those things. I just want a car that looks nice and gets me where I have to go. I have clothes. Right now, I don't need to buy anything. I have all the clothes that I need. I have all the furniture that I need. I have all the appliances and kitchen stuff. I have all of that. I don't need anything. Sure, are there things that I want? Yeah, sure. But most of those have to do with relationships, you know? I tell God all the time about things that I'd like to see happen, places I'd like to go. Sure, there's lots of places I'd like to go. But don't let money rule you. In the Bible, Jesus talked about money more than he talked about anything. And he said that it was the root of all evil. Money was not evil in itself. Money is money. It's what we do with it, how we spend it, how we manage it, to whether we're happy or not. And so, I don't know. These kind of things have really, really been on my heart lately. The simple things, the simple life. Because, you know, life is precious every single day. And the mundane, the routines, the going to work, the coming home, making the dinner, mowing the grass, all those things that we might think are menial, mundane, they really are what life is all about. And relationships with the people that you love, those are the most important things. Things are nothing. Who cares? Who really, really cares? So that's all I have for now. I hope that you found value in this video. Like, subscribe. Consider subscribing if you haven't. I talk about a lot of stuff. A lot of times things just occur to me, and I start talking about it. This did have to do with money. money and happiness and all that. But I just come out and kind of say what I'm thinking. So anyway, like I always say, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Till next time, bye.